Hey, Ange.
Hey Les, how you doing? You already have me cracking up. You're so
I know
funny.
it's so funny because you wanted to capture some banter, and it's like people don't want to hear bestie banter. We're sitting here talking about she, her on my ID badge. I'm talking about, did you know that there is a chemical in a pool in a public pool that if you pee, you get like this cloud of blue around you? I don't know what made me think of that, but
Hopefully you didn't find out by being a victim of
well,
the
I'm
cloud
glad
of
I knew
blue.
it ahead of time because I regularly pee in pools. Who doesn't?
But you you have your own. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn. I'm Angela and
The peer is Leslie.
that is my best friend of almost 50 years, Leslie. We are two intellectually curious older Black women, and we invite you to just join us along our journey of discovery of self, of others, of just interesting stuff and things that make us happy, make us angry, make us want to be changed in the world. So we are so glad to have you here today. This is our post Thanksgiving um, conversation.
Hmm.
And we had some glitches with our members of our team getting back into the position of work. And so this episode is going to not have all the glitz, but it's going to be great. There's going to be no editing. So you get all of the things. You
Oh
get all
my
of the things.
gosh.
So, lads, before I
Be
continue,
afraid.
what do you want to ask the people?
So I think you all want to be some regular subscribers to Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn. So I would love it if you pressed like and subscribe. Tell your friends, turn on notifications because we drop content regularly. And I think you'll be glad you did. And we love to get feedback and write people and get ideas. So join the family, become an honorary bestie, press like and subscribe right now.
And leave comments, liberally
Yeah.
leave comments. All right. So, yeah, so we're talking about peeing in pools. We're talking about, Leslie mentioned that she just heard that another thing that may identify someone as being too liberal, too inclusive, too black, too other, too
Hmm.
whatever. Another thing to add is whether they put their pronouns in their Zoom, on their Zoom stuff or on their
Zoom
LinkedIn
or
and so
their
on.
ID
So
badge or
all the
resume or
things.
things like that.
So if you want to, go ahead.
I've heard from someone who is in the position of employment that that can be problematic because what they want is just a widget, a regular, degular employer. They don't want necessarily, many people don't want people who have opinions or who may not toe the party line. So that was told to me as just an advice if I were
Right.
looking for employment.
Yeah. So for those same people, Leslie would have to change the color of her skin, change her hair, maybe not change her name, but your last name would have to be changed
That would have to be, yeah,
to
yeah. I would have to
Smith
become not
to
Jones,
Thomas. What?
Wright, Wright, Leslie
Right.
Wright.
Leslie. So
Ooh.
take off the she, her, change,
Hmm.
just become an AI version of yourself, but not looking anything like you and not having any
That's true. That's
thoughts of
true.
inclusivity. And then you'll be set. You'll be all
Check,
set. You'll be
check.
all set. Anyway, so listen, my eyes itching here. So um, neither of us are back home for post Thanksgiving. So I am speaking to you from my sister's office at a university.
And
She
I just
is.
think that is so cool. When you said that you were at her office, I thought that you were at home in her home office. And I'm
Mm-mm.
like, look at the lock on that door. And I'm like, that is a very spacious. There's some desk sets up, and it's like you are at
There's
the
some books.
university, the real professor's office. How cool is that?
Yep, got her, you know, looking very just this is anyway.
I like it.
And I have like about eight books using to stack up my to stack my laptop
Yes.
here, um, and so so that's where, oh, and today is the last day of class here, so she's
Oh,
teaching her final class for the semester, and then it's
oh.
exams. And so we're going to talk about, like, one of the main topics that we're going to talk about today, is what happened to me when I um, is why I feel like a cloud um, of loss when I sold my house, and what happened to my belongings that were in my house. And that was 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, that I sold my house, and it most of my belongings had been in storage. I kind of had made some decisions about the things that I would need for the next year or two, and had those
Mm-hmm.
in short-term storage. And then the bulk of my things, I would say 85-90%, was in long-term storage. And then I those things are now no longer in my possession. I'll talk to you about what happened,
Mm-hmm.
and how I very often feel this sense of loss, this sense of
Mm-hmm.
not feeling grounded, because I will kind of be in my apartment, and I'll, look for something, or, oh, I have that. And then I don't, because it was among the things that are now no longer mine. Um, and it's even come up in therapy a few times, because
Mm.
I was
Mm-hmm.
really wronged in the process, and we'll go into all the details. But I was talking to my sister. We were together for Thanksgiving, and I was telling her some of this, how I was feeling, and she was like, "Oh, you talked about that on your podcast?" I'm like, "No, I think maybe I was kind of processing it before I could really talk about it." But then, in the process of doing that, I know that it kind of became, but that was just my experience. Nobody else, needs to, no one else would, might get value out of it. And she convinced me that that is not true, that other people may have had similar experiences. And so I was like, yeah, let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably going to be in two parts, because I really want Leslie and I to have a conversation about the her what she's going through now in
Right.
moving and making, you
Right.
know and then the book that you guys
Uh,
know I got for her, Afro Minimalism. I know she's been reading it, so I wanted her to talk about the book and how it may be helping her or not yet,
yeah.
around
Yeah.
making those decisions. So that's kind of be the bulk of what we're talking about today, and then we'll throw in things like peeing in the pool, and and all the things as we
Yeah.
move along. So yeah.
It's funny how our lives run in tandem sometime,
Mm-hmm.
because I've talked about it many times over the last year or more. I've moved, I've downsized, I, have several different places where I lay my head. And not only is it confusing, but I have stuff in many different places, and I have too much stuff.
Mm,
So I have been looking at you for advice on downsizing. I determined I really need to get rid of about 50% of the things that I own.
mm-hmm.
So that means if
Leslie's
I
50% is like my 90%.
I'm not
terms of
I'm not I'm
in
not doing
terms
the
of volume.
extreme version.
No, no, no. I'm saying 50% of your things
Right. Yeah, I
is
guess I have
equivalent
more
to
stuff.
maybe you're dense, more densely packed than
I'm
I
more densely packed. And the thing is that what that means for me, and this is how I've had to see things, is that if I'm holding two objects, one has to go.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult.
Yes.
It's very
Yeah.
difficult. And
Yeah.
I say that I am going to get to it and get to it. So I put most of my things in storage right
Mm-hmm.
now,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll get to it. I
Mm-hmm.
suspect I won't though.
Storage will get to you. You'll.
Yeah,
It's
I've
just a
already,
deferring,
yeah,
and it's
yeah, and it's
necessary, but
expensive,
it is expensive, or it
yeah.
can be expensive. Yes, indeed,
Mm-hmm. So
indeed, and
decisions have to be made.
right,
But
right.
I know, and I've said this to you, I cannot make the decision on my own. I
That's
need
good
a
to know.
second pair. I told you I need you to come up and
Mm-hmm.
really just go
Mm-hmm.
through things.
Yeah,
And this is going, the
yeah,
Marie Kondo style.
yeah. Sure,
Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go.
sure.
It's
We could
way
definitely do
easier for
that.
me to identify that for other people than for
Yeah,
myself. So I think
yeah,
that the same would work.
yeah. Les, I saw on Glamzini had a post. We'll tag it for you, and she described how she lays out her year. And I didn't have the chance to listen to all of it at the time, but I will go
Mm.
back. But you saw that she had post-its, the bigger ones with the lines,
Mm-hmm.
um, lined paper, January through December, 1 month on each paper laid out. And I thought about that because I think you and I really need to put that on a month, like when that's going to happen, so
Mm.
that because like um, throughout the end of this year, going into next year, I'm planning out my year because there's going to be travel in it, and because I need to start putting things um, onto some, even if they're tentative dates, so that things don't bump into each other, right? So I have to put my house sits on dates. I have to, so that I can start
Mm-hmm.
booking um, flights. So I don't wait until
Sure.
the last minute, which is what I tend to do because I hate doing that stuff.
I know.
So I would love to put when I'm committing to you to do your at least round one of your what are we going to call it?
Sure. The purge.
The
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 purge. The PG version.
the PG
Not the
version.
horror film, but call it the purge.
You got it. We'll
Here's
call
the
it the purge.
similarity.
We'll call it the
Things will
purge.
be going, but there will be no police involved. Well, with the purge, there's no police anyway.
Is that right?
It's
I'm
a
not that
law
familiar with it.
enforcement free day or something like that.
You
I
know,
can't watch it. I
yeah,
don't watch
I
stuff like
don't,
that.
mm-mm,
But
I
that's what I
can't.
heard. It's like mayhem. So
I
if you
see.
open up my storage bin, it will be mayhem.
And here's the good thing for me, why it's not going to become it leaves Leslie, it comes to me, because I have shut that down. I thank you for the box that you sent me, Les. Probably half of it I'll be giving away, but I know you gave me the
Good.
okay
I love
to do
that.
that.
Yes.
Um,
Let's bless somebody else.
that's right. And but even while I've been in Jersey, well, I was in Jersey before I came to Virginia. Right in front of me, I had a decision. Are you going to go for a walk or are you going to go thrifting?
And you did.
I went for the walk.
Wow.
I am transformed.
That's really
A
good.
family thrifting day
I mean,
at
you know how much
various,
we enjoy thrifting. I mean, we've had podcast episodes about our thrifting episodes. I
yes,
love a good
yes.
thrift.
I love a good thrift. But guess what? I done a little shopping for some winter things before
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving, and I said, I don't need a damn thing. When my color coordinated hangers are full in my closet, no, I'm not buying new hangers.
Yeah.
I am
That
getting
could
rid of
let the
things as I
hangers
bring.
be the guide.
Let the
That's a
hangers
good
be the
barometer.
guide. Yes, let the hangers. I have like the I kind of cheated a little bit because I my hangers kind of have to match.
I agree.
It's just a
No
thing.
doubt.
And but I had some of the felty ones, the
Yes.
yeah, and then I had some just the plastic ones that were similar color. So sometimes there's like four of the plastic ones that I'd already kicked out and put into my coat
Uh-huh.
closet, but I see that they're back and they're consistently filled with stuff. So
Mm.
I've been creeping.
Okay,
And I said
okay.
no more. And I went
But
for a
at
walk
least you
instead.
stopped yourself, and that's good
I
because you're
did.
really moving your body more. So that's
Right.
also in alignment with some
Right.
of the goals that you set for yourself.
There
I'm
you
proud
go.
of you. I'm proud of
Thank
you.
you. Little by little. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
But
I
anyway,
kind of
your
made a
purge. Okay.
similar decision,
Yep. Decision.
but it wasn't born out of willpower. I'll be transparent right now. Right now, I'm out of work.
Uh-huh.
Right now, for the first time in my adult life, I have no income.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Wow. At least
so
for the next 3 months.
voluntarily,
Right.
voluntarily, right.
Right. Okay.
And when my first pay period came back, goose
Oh my God.
eggs,
You,
I said,
did you
guess what?
remember?
I am not going to that winter market fair sales that I was planning to go to.
Oh
You
my
know, where there
goodness.
was, I think, 110 vendors and, going through and looking at all the
Right.
wares and trinkets.
Right.
This would be like I could spend days there
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
going through the stuff and like an
Yeah.
Etsy in person.
Right. Right.
But my friend said, you ready to go? I said, I'm not going nowhere. Go where?
But Les,
I
isn't it
am
true?
not, because the idea for me of one, I don't need any, but that wasn't my
Mm-hmm.
motivation. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I don't have spare cash.
Right.
And
Right.
that's where, I said,
Right. Right.
you know what?
No.
Nope. Because I wouldn't be able to resist.
And I would
I would
say
pick up cute things at any time.
that a high percentage of the things in your closet that still have tags have those artisan tags
Don't out
from
me.
even from
Don't
events like
out
this.
me.
Beautiful things
But
that
it's so funny that you say that. Let me just move for a second.
I don't know you, Leslie. I don't know you. How do
Don't
I know
out
you? I
me.
don't know you. What do you-
I think you're a plant, or else you must have just seen what I just this beautiful
Oh
silk.
my
I'm not going
God.
to show too much of it because it's turning into a gift.
Uh-huh.
But I spent quite a pretty penny on this lovely, I don't even know what it is. But it's now
The
going to be a
tag is
beautiful, the tag is still on it.
still
I've
on it.
never worn it. And guess
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
It's one of the 50% of things that is going. It will
Yeah.
bless someone. I know she'll love it. And
Les, as
so,
a matter of
yeah,
fact, I
it gotta
think that
go.
that's going to be another category of sorting for you is gift giving
Hmm.
and then maybe we can even do a subsort of that um, who to whom and so on. So that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
gonna be good. That's gonna be
And
good.
then there's a whole clothing, category that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
fit anymore and that I
Mm-hmm.
need tailoring,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, yeah, it's a lot. It's a
Yep.
lot,
Yep.
and there's the emotional part of it. So why don't you start talking a little bit about your experience because it's deep.
Yeah. I'm kind of um, it kind of crept up on me, as a matter of fact. I didn't think that, I thought that the relief of not having those things anymore and not paying, almost $500 a month for storage, because I was in a five-bedroom house that my parents lived in on and off, that my children and I lived in for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
So basement, uh, not basement, but attic, and it came from our even larger house in New Jersey. So the stuff that was in the attic, mm, a lot of it had never been
Never
opened
made it
since
to
we
the main
since we
living
moved
space.
there.
Yes.
And so I felt like the not having those things would be the bigger kind of emotion, and I would feel the the weight of the things not being there would overwhelmingly been the more positive emotion and not
You mean the lack
the
of
loss.
clutter and the space and stuff? Is that what you're talking about? What do you mean?
I mean, not having the expense and not
Oh,
having
oh,
to.
getting rid of that storage requirement.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
to me was kind of, it was an albatross because number one, again, it was the money, and number two, it was at some point I'm going to have to deal with those things. You know what I mean? I'm going to
Yeah,
have
it's
to.
always on your to-do
It's
list.
always on the to-do list. Always, 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 always. And so what happened is, and I think I'm prepared to use some names here because I want to call out some really bad behavior
Mm-hmm.
of the company that we worked with. So what I did when I just was determined to not continue to have these things and be able to be more agile. I was starting to think about where I was going to live next. I knew I wasn't going to buy another house anytime soon,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know where I wanted to live. And so, when and if I ever buy another house, it would have to be locked in that this is where I would want to live. And I knew that
Yeah.
that kind of sense of things was far off, right? And I wasn't going to pay storage until God kind of made that clear to
Mm-hmm.
me. Anyway, so I hired someone to um, to project manage that whole effort for me. Someone that I'd worked with before, that I had and still have a high level of trust for, really resourceful, and absolutely no issues with the work that she did on my behalf and that type of thing. But she was recommended this company that handles estate sales, and I don't know all the names that they have for this type of work, but um, they resell things. They may, for estate sales. I
Mm-hmm.
think they
Probably
typically.
like liquidation stuff,
Yeah,
that type
exactly.
thing.
That's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. So I tried to do some of that on my own, but that was one of the barriers for me. I don't have time
Yeah.
for this. I don't want to do it. I just know it's something I have to do. So
Yeah.
let me hire someone to help me to do it. And she would check in regularly. And I mean, anyway, she found this company, and the deal was that they were going to go to the storage unit, and when I say storage unit, I mean this big warehouse where whenever I went there, just a few times over the few years that my things were there, they had to actually, with a forklift, kind of bring down, maybe I had like six pallets, whatever size
Wow.
they were, and they would have to look at their listing to see where the item
It's,
might be,
oh man,
and then
that right
bring down
there
the
is a
pallet,
barrier to,
open it up,
getting, yeah,
and
yeah.
have me get my things out. And anyway, so the deal was that this liquidation company would pick up the things from the storage unit, take it to their facility, set it up, um, so that people could come in and see what's there. And when they had the sale, they would um, keep track of what was sold, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we got the contract. The initial agreement was that it was going to be 50-50 of what was sold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the person that I hired negotiated down to 60-40. I would get 60, they would get 40.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, it ended up, with all of the things that were in my home, it ended up costing me money. This whole transaction ended up costing me a few $100s. I made nothing. It cost me money. And I just really feel taken advantage of. but I also, it's almost like when you get swindled, when you feel so much guilt and shame that you didn't dot every I and cross every T, and if you
Yeah,
had
you
to
start
explain.
blaming yourself for being so stupid. So it's like, let's
Exactly.
just move on.
Exactly.
Oh,
That was a part of it too, because I hired this person because I knew I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to trust her and let her handle all the things, because that's what she's really, really expert at, is all the orchestration of things.
the logistics part of that.
She's amazing with logistics, and I really like, um I still feel that way about her, but I think she was lied to as well, and I think she trusted the person who recommended them.
And the contract cannot save anything, or I mean, you probably feel like you just want to move on and
I I I do, because um I do because I do not want to give any more than I have to of my headspace.
hmm,
That's why this conversation is really helping me to process, because I mean, sometimes I would just wake up, you know, out of, just wake up out of a dream state where I was dreaming about, how awful I felt about how things went down.
sure,
You
sure.
know,
And I mean, quite honestly, it's a loss. So
it's a
I know
loss.
that we're talking about the tangible logistics of it, but we can also now start talking about the emotional part of it, the
Yeah,
traumatic
it was
part of it.
traumatic. Yeah,
Why, let me ask you this.
sure.
Why do you feel it such a loss if, in fact, these things have been in storage for a few years? You haven't
Hmm.
really seen them for a few years, so they
Yeah,
weren't part of your day-to-day life. Now
sure.
that they're gone, what the what?
Well, okay, I'll answer it this way. It's not that I wish I still had these things. It's not that at
Mm-hmm.
all. It's more, man, if I had just donated these things, if I knew, like, the family who now lives down the street from me, a refugee family
Yes.
from, a Somali family, and I go to drop off stuff and I see that they lack so much furniture, whatever, if I had given it to them and to 10
Yes.
other families
It's
like
not
them,
like you want the things. This
I would
is
feel so
not.
amazing.
Sure. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
So it's not the loss of me losing them, it's the loss of their
Yeah.
value to people that
Right.
I
You
would
could
want to
have blessed
serve.
someone who was
Exactly.
needy, not to these swindlers or whatever,
Exactly.
to people and then there's something to be said about how you feel about being taken advantage of.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
That too. And what to do about it. And again, where this is where the shame comes in. It's like, even the question, the first question that you asked is, well, was there a contract? Yeah, there was a contract. Okay, now what? Like, who do I present this contract to? I
Right.
thought about, the person that I hired. Let's call her Hope. Not her real name. If She suggested that I go to the Attorney's General office, and she sent me the link to their site, and I went and I looked at all of that they required. Okay, it's basically, you have to show why you were without fault. You have to paint the whole picture for them. And because I wasn't managing it myself, and I wasn't kind of, it's like, okay, anything, just speak to Hope, and Hope will let
I
me know when I need
understand.
to get
I
involved.
understand because sometimes it's like the information gathering is
Yes.
onerous.
Right. Right.
And it's like, oh man,
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Never mind. There's so much else, other things going on in my life. It's like, but then there's like something nagging you.
Yeah.
Oh, Ange, I get it.
Yeah. It's like that. And it's so they came, they picked up everything. They charged me $500 to move the things from the my storage unit over to them, right? Um it was messy in that they were supposed to meet me there at a certain time. They said they got lost, all the things. You could just tell that they're they weren't being truthful because it's like, oh, if you were lost and then 5 minutes later they show up. Well, based on what you said, you would have been like 45 minutes away. You wouldn't have been fine. It was just kind of, but it's like, okay, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. So it's just like a series of
Damn.
these
All right, they
things,
got me. They
you
got me.
know. And so they came, they picked up the stuff, they took it there. Then there were all these delays in when they were actually going to have the sale, right? Where they said they would be setting it up, I thought it was kind of this big warehouse, expansive. People could come look around. It was like a portion of an office park, and I'm going to pull up the name of the company because I do want to mention them. It
Hmm.
was this portion of an office park that had very it was small, and so it wasn't like this place that people could come and like different vignettes would be set up, and they
Mm.
could, what I mean,
Yeah.
come and
Yeah.
this is the kitchen stuff, this is the living room and things like that. Beautiful leather couch,
Oh.
just um oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The other day, Johnny asked me if his he was really into baking, like amazing baking, and taking it to his friends for all different events and for school and so on. So we got him this really nice KitchenAid, those big heavy mixers with all of the
Yes.
attachments
Yes,
and
I do
all of that
know.
stuff.
I have one
Well, he's
myself.
like, Mom, was that? And I know it was a part of what was in storage,
That's a
and
$500 mixer.
it's
Yeah.
gone. And, like, according to them, everything that was in my home that some things were damaged, some things were damaged in storage, um, and all of that stuff. But anyway, in terms of money that I got 600 and something dollars. 500 I'd already paid to them, and then I had to pay Hope. So I lost money, but that's
Wow.
all the money that I got
Wow.
from them. Um, and at one point they I I understand that they were frustrated, but I didn't cause their frustration. It was kind of their internal process
Yes.
that was whatever. But the owner was on the phone with me, and he was telling me, well, your stuff wasn't worth shit, and just all
No.
yes, yes. And he did after that apologize, but what the fuck? Who what? What? Who are you talking
Yeah,
to?
yeah.
What are you actually saying? What are you
Mm-hmm.
actually saying?
Wow.
So
I
it
see
was
the
very,
trauma
very,
around
very
this whole
traumatic.
thing.
And the name,
After you mention their name, I would like us in the we don't have a whole lot of time left to talk, but I want to just talk about in general what collecting all that, like, how did we get
yeah,
here?
yeah. Well, the name of the company is Bolton Estate Cleanout and Furniture Liquidation, I think is the name of the company. Bolton Estate Cleanout and Furniture
I think,
Liquidation.
and the
Okay.
best, the worst that you can do, and I think I can even help you with this, is let's write some reviews, online reviews.
Yeah, for
Just talk
sure.
about our experience. That's
For
easy.
sure.
Yelp,
Yeah, that's
Google,
easy.
etc. Let's
Yeah,
just call them out.
so
But yeah,
yeah, if those things, alternatively,
damn, he said
if
that.
I'd even given, because the company that was the storage place, um, they have a donation center too. So I could have just
Oh,
turned everything over to them
yes.
had I known that, you know what I mean?
How
That
could you have known? But
how could
yeah,
I have known? How could I? And I did want to at least go through my things to see. And so having them moved elsewhere, I was able to see what was there and take out some of the pieces, the smaller pieces that I wanted for my apartment. Not the sofa or anything like that. I did want to start anew, but some really nice. little side tables and things like that. My
Mm-hmm.
Persian rug, a few things like that I wanted to keep, but I knew that I didn't want or need the bulk of my things. So anyway, this is really helping, Les, just
I'm
talking it
glad.
through and not being so closeted about
Yeah, because you,
the
believe it or
trauma
not, you had
of
not
it.
mentioned to me, certainly not this level of detail.
Yeah,
I knew that it didn't go well, but I didn't
right,
know how
right,
well. And, you
right,
know,
right.
yeesh,
So
that the guy
so this
dissed your
happened.
stuff.
So this happened. But when it was while it was being taken from storage to this other place, I did kind of look at everything. I tried to touch as many things as I could. I said thank you for being there for my family. I did do that, and I have some videos of the things which I have not revisited, but I have them. So I did do that type of kind of mindful work around it, but it was the it was the disrespect of my things and the experience that
Sure,
the
sure.
balance of, well, you did all this, but at least you got this little bit of money for it or whatever, that would have helped
Mitigated
to
some of this. Yeah,
some of it,
yeah.
anyway.
And
Thank
I
you.
think this is good counsel for me going forward because I'm almost at the
Exactly.
beginning of this journey where I'm
Exactly.
paying monthly for not
Right.
one, but two,
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
storage bins, when the
Yeah.
first one was like, you've got to be kidding if you think all
Right.
this is going to fit in that.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
my immediate goal is to at least get down to one. But
Yeah.
I admit
Yeah.
I need help, I
Yeah.
need help. But I do know that I don't need or want all the things.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
don't know how and what to get rid of, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And we're going to change the language about the get rid because it's that I think
Yeah, yeah, oof,
that's a part of it
let's
too.
get
And
rid of.
we're in a community where um, we have um, people who are tuned into our podcast who are looking to move abroad, either full time or at least partially, or to downsize. They're
Mm.
empty nesters. There are people in this age group,
So
and
we have resources
we
of
have
people. What have you done?
right,
How
and
have
we
you?
this could be helping them.
Yeah,
This is how
yeah.
we're doing it because you're kind of just at the beginning of the
And
process.
I think that we'll do it justice, a little more justice, if we put this part of the conversation into our part two.
Mm-hmm.
But I really
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about some of the real inner, almost genetic
Mm-hmm.
reasons why we're
Mm-hmm.
predisposed to collect
Mm-hmm.
and hold on to things.
Right. Right.
I know, for me as a Black person, I
Mm-hmm.
know from my family history of
Mm-hmm.
not coming from very wealthy people who've had a lot. We certainly
Mm-hmm.
made do with what we've
Mm-hmm.
had.
Mm-hmm.
And only in retrospect do I realize how little my grandmother and great grandmother must have had, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, so we were always taught, you'll hold on to your good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I one of my loved ones is a hoarder,
Mm-hmm.
and what they say is, when I ask them, why don't you donate it? Why don't you donate this? Well, that's my good stuff, and it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
people appreciate receiving
Right.
good stuff. We don't
Yes.
only
Yes.
have to get rid of,
The stuff we want to
things that are,
keep.
bad or
Exactly.
unusable or tattered or whatever.
Exactly.
People,
Exactly.
you can
Yeah.
bless people with good things.
Right.
Do you
Right.
need them or not? Are they
Right.
serving you or not?
Right.
And
Have
that's
they served you?
harder.
Have they served you well? And is it time to move on to smaller, to to
Less
different, to less?
to
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I have trouble because
Yeah.
when we have room to store things in our
Mm-hmm.
large homes,
Mm-hmm.
that you we don't have to think about those things.
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
only reason that I'm even considering giving away or releasing some of these things is
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have room anymore.
Mm,
And I don't
mm-hmm.
want to have the room anymore.
Mm,
I don't want
mm-hmm.
to have a very, very large space
Right.
with,
Right. 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 I think that's why there's so many storage. They pop up like
they're
all these storage.
everywhere.
We buy the
It's
things.
such a
Listen,
huge.
do you know how much it costs? Because I have a lot of hair dye and hair products from my wig business, and which I still use for theater, but I have so much of it. So you buy these things, okay, whatever. You buy a bottle of dye. It's $6, whatever, right? And then you're paying every month to store it somewhere. You're not you're
It becomes a
you're not
sin.
it becomes
And then
and
when
it's
if you
extra. It's
think of
not
it
in your
like
house.
that, if you
Yes.
think of it like
Yes.
that,
How much is that costing you?
yes, a
How much
six
is that
dollar
costing
bottle
you?
of dye is now
Yes.
$18. It's tripled in
Easy.
price.
It's
I
easy.
recently did a closet purge of spices.
Mm-hmm.
How many jars of dried parsley
And
and
fennel.
curry do you need the scent? There's no more scent to it. They say
Yeah.
when you can't smell your spices anymore, it's time to go. And
Right,
many of them
right,
have dates on it. But
right.
it's just that we put the curry in the back. Then when we
Yes.
want to make another curry dish, we buy a new
Right,
one and
right,
don't think
right.
that it
Yeah,
becomes overwhelming
yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah. And
So
mm-hmm.
yeah. So
Well, I
I was
was
gonna
just
say
thinking,
the next part two, because there has to be a part two, even
yeah.
maybe part three of this, is we really need to delve a little bit more into. I'll be, transparent about how
Mm-hmm.
the acquisition of the stuff has made
Mm-hmm.
me feel over the
Mm,
last couple
mm.
decades.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Do you have the book with you?
I
The Afro
do,
Minimalism?
although
Yay.
my computer is leaning on it.
Oh.
Now I'm a little bit higher. You can now see that I have no pants on.
At
I
least you
have
have on a
pants
top. At
on.
least you have on a
I'm
top
wearing
this time.
jeans. But yes, but yeah, this is the book I've been reading and I've been internalizing it.
Good.
I really The Afro Minimalist's Guide to Living with Less, Christine Platt.
Nice. So we'll go into that the teachings of that next time. Leslie will kind of lead the conversation and we'll talk
Mm-hmm.
through some
Mm-hmm.
of that and share that with you. Um, she was one of the speakers at this year's Exodus Summit that Stephanie Perry and Rashida Dow hosted in October. And we'll put links to Exodus Summit and to Christine Platt's website in
Mm-hmm.
the description. All right.
I think so.
We're good.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking, you got me thinking about what these storage bins look like. But I would love for you, remember, press like and subscribe and tell us a little bit about let's call it collecting. We won't say, tell us about some of the collections that you all have acquired over the years and what
Yeah.
you think about it. And if you want to get rid of some stuff or if you want to let go of some things
Mm,
or bless others with
I
some of
like
these
that better.
things,
Yes.
what
Yes.
are some of the barriers or some of the considerations that you've been thinking about before you're
Mm,
able to let them go?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
And if you found this wonderful way to go through and to make decisions about what to keep and what to give away and what is not worthy of being given away, and maybe you found a scrap
Hmm.
exchange or some other place to donate, share those with us in the comments. Why don't you?
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm going to take us out by saying thank you for listening. We appreciate you all. And this has been another episode of Black Boomer Besties from Brooklyn.